In today's video, I want to talk about destructuring in JavaScript. It's a very new feature that it can be found from ES 2015 and onwards. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing that we have here is an object that I have defined with just a name, an age, and a location. Simple enough. Now, let's say we want the name of that person. What would we do? Let's say we are somewhere else inside our project. So we do something like let name equals person dot name. Simple enough, right? And then we decide, oh well, we also need a location. So do location equals person dot location. Now, what the guys at JavaScript did were looking at this and they said, oh, okay, well, this is kind of repeating yourself. You say here person dot something and person dot something. You say name here and name here is basically the same thing. So what they did is create a syntax that lets you declare both of them very fast and easy. How it works is you simply say let bracket, inside brackets you put in the names of your variables, like basically like any other declarations. You say name and location, and then you equal that to whatever object has the properties name and location that can be assigned to this one. And I'm gonna say person, and these two are basically equivalent. If I try to console log this, let's say console log on name and location, and do the same thing down here. I'm just gonna comment this out because it's gonna break the compiler. You will notice that if I try to run this, we get test and USA, which is right. We got a name and location, so this one surely works. And if I try to run this other one, we get the same result, which is really nice. That means that we have destructured these object successfully. Another useful feature when it comes to destructuring is when passing variables to, well, functions. Let's say we have a function here that says, I don't know, find person. Don't worry, I'm not going to implement it. And I just want our name and location, right? And I'm just going to console log these, that's all. So name and location. If I want to, well, use this, I'm gonna have to do something like find person of person.name and person.location. Very specific, right? This is kind of a long line already, and if we have even more parameters, that's gonna be even longer. And this also has to be in this exact order. If I pass in location and name, it doesn't work, right? So if I try to run this, that surely works, right? Now, destructuring can be used inside the function's parameters, like so. You just kind of add the brackets in between. And then what you have to do is, instead of passing each parameter one by one, you have to pass in an object that has these parameters, these name and location. So I'm going to just pass in person. And since person has name and location, it's going to automatically destructure it for us. Just like so. Now, destructuring can be used inside arrays as well. So here I have a simple array that, for some reason, who knows why, it has two strings, and one of them is the email and the other one is the name of that person. Not sure why it's like that, but let's not get into it. It's just like that, and we have to find a way to get those values out inside variables. Well, what do we usually do? We do something like let name equals r of 1 and let email equals r of 0, right? Simple enough. And this, if I try to console log all this, you'll notice that it also works, right? That's nice. But there's a better way. There's a better way using destructuring. To use destructuring with arrays, what you have to do is say, well, in this case, let, and then this time square brackets, and inside square brackets we add, well, the variable names in order. So you say email and name, because email is the first element of this array and then name is the second one, right? And then you say equals array, just the name of the array. And if I try to print this out, just like so, let me clear the screen, you'll notice that it also works very nicely, right? We got here the name and then second is the email. We didn't get them mixed up. And this is really nice because it works on any number of properties for that object, right? I don't have to create a second line for each one, and I don't have to say r of 1 and r of 0, because that really doesn't mean anything for the one reading that line of code, right? Now, one last thing regarding destructuring is if you have more elements inside our array, let's say after our name here we have simply just the grades of that person. Let's say we have 9 and a 10 and then a, I don't know, an 8, and we want to take those numbers out of the array. Now surely this is more of a niche case in where we have a weird data type where it's an array, it's in an array everything about that person, but it has its uses, trust me, and I've seen some cases like that. So what you can do in this situation is, okay, we can leave email because it's still our first, then we can leave name is our second, but the rest of these can be taken inside a single variable using the rest operator. What it says, well, simply after the as the last declaration in this line, you can say dot 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 and then just say grades, whatever name for that variable you want, right? And if I try to run this and just console log for grades here, let me clear the screen, you'll notice that we get an array of 3 elements. So it automatically just kind of split the array into, well, 3 places. The first one was the email, the second one was the name, and the third place was like the rest of the array after the name, which was just the 3 grades. This can come in useful in some cases. One last thing relating destructuring is when it comes to swapping variables. So here we have a equals 17 and b equals 20, right? If I try to console log these, say a and b, and run this, sure enough we get 17 and 20. Simple enough. But if I want to swap them, there's a way to do it in just one single line, right? Usually what you do is just get another variable, assign it to auxiliary, and then you go a equals b and then b equals auxiliary, and there you go. That would have swapped my variables, but there's a better way to do this, and that's using array destructuring. So first, what we have to do is first create an array, right? Create an array with a and b inside it, right? So we have a and b as the first and the second element in the array. Now what we can do is simply say inside, again, square brackets, we can say b and a equals a and b. And what that's gonna do, if I try to run this, you'll notice it's going to swap them. Why? That's because, well, a and b is already defined, so we just kind of assign the value to them, and we don't have to actually declare them as well. And since destructuring occurs on the left side, b is going to take the value of the first element inside our array, which is, well, a in this case, and a is going to take the second value inside our array, which is b, right? I'm sure it's not the most efficient way, but it's very, very easy to understand if you know array destructuring. So I hope you got something out of this video. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time.